What up, everybody? Welcome inside another live edition of the Deep Look podcast on all things ultimate. It is noon, Tuesday, July 15th. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Keith Raynor. Keith, we're rocking and rolling in this club season at this point. PEC West in the books. We're a couple of weeks away from the U.S. Open and ready to roll with what should be a very interesting year. How about Revolver this weekend?
There's definitely been some unusual results over this past couple of weekends. We're gonna dive in. There's plenty to chew on. The mixed division, of course, is as logical as it ever was. All the teams that you expect to win have wins. Everybody's undefeated. It's great. You got Rhino not even making it to the finals at PEC West. You got the Revolver win, obviously. It's interesting times. We're at that point where it's like, okay, what is for real? What's not for real? We'll have to chew on that a little bit. I was gonna ask you, I got the summer league yesterday, and it was late in I got there late in the round, but I'm the captain, so I feel like I had to be there. And my team had no subs. I arrived, I was the first sub, and we had a little bit of back and forth with the opposition. There were some side comments, like a bunch of times we would like score, and somebody on the other team would say like, "I can't believe you guys keep scoring on those throws. Like those are," sometimes even saying like, "Those are horrible throws. I don't know how you do that." And there was some chatter, but we ended up having a post game spirit circle to talk to it and be like, "Okay,
who won?
It's got a little out of control there. We won. The other team is not happy about it.
Salty ass summer league team, huh?
Just that a little bit of energy, a little bit of juice.
Were you throwing some dimes, Keith, and they were getting mad?
I don't know if I'd say all that. I mean, I did throw like big fast break OI forehand huck that dropped in, but I don't know if I got a salty comment from that. But somebody had like a big sky on a jump ball that worked out. We had a couple stuff like that. I mean, we were throwing a lot of loopy summer throws. To me. I was like, it all seems like par for the course.
I can literally see it all. It's like a perfect visual picture for me of exactly how it went down, and like people walking away, like kind of like a little too loud, saying, "I can't believe you scored with that trash."
Yeah, the kind of thing hilarious. You say on the line with your team, but not before you get back there. There was also like, there was a dangerous play call, which maybe there was one before I got there as well, because there was a bunch of zones. So like
summer league is so toxic. It's incredible.
Yeah. There was people jumping in on calls they weren't involved in. It was a good time.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's see. First things first, Keith. Trivia question of the week. Let's go.
All right, Charlie. So I've got for you this week and for our players at home, I've got 5 club players who all happen to be players who have changed or left rosters this club season. We're in this, our sub bonus. We're going to talk about some of the biggest club roster changes. So that's what kind of drove this sort. And then I've got a list of colleges. I want to see, Charlie, can you match the player with their college from this list? There are a couple of colleges on this list that are not an answer for any of the players. So I had to throw in a couple feints for you, but you got to match the player with their college team. Here are the club players, Charlie, that you have in front of you. Blaise Sevier, Claire Revere, Troy Holland, Han Chen, and Austin Taylor. The schools that you had to pick from: Alabama, Georgetown, Georgia Tech, UCLA, UCSD, Virginia, Washington, and Whitman. So we'll see if Charlie, do you have any ideas just looking at the initial list?
How much ball do I know? Oh yeah.
No,
I've got some ideas. I think you need to tell us a little bit about Breakmark. Well, I'll let other people think about it.
Yeah. Let everybody else do the thinking. Charlie's not going to think. He's already done. They're not done over at Breakmark. They're still coming up with great offers for you, even though it's their 20th anniversary. They've been doing this for 20 years. still coming up with new ways to surprise you and delight you. They've been doing giveaways on Instagram. If you're not checking them out on Instagram, you're missing out on a bunch of free stuff. Definitely jump in on there. But they also just dropped the prices on a bunch of their core sublimated items because people have been trying to get the bundles, but sometimes you just need one or two things. So now you can get their sublimated shorts for $30, sublimated short sleeves or reversibles. Those are $35. So you get the same great quality, lower prices. Everybody loves that. They're pumping out orders now. So make sure to hit them up at Breakmark. All right, Charlie. Do you feel like you've got these locked in?
Decent, I would say. Okay, let me start with what I definitely know. Claire Revere went to Whitman.
The chat is in with you on this. They're deep on the Claire Revere to Whitman.
I remember Claire Revere just absolutely cooking for Whitman. It was awesome. They went to semis, right? With her?
Finals. They went to the final, I think, and lost to Stanford.
Finals. Lost in finals. Yeah, okay. Han Chen, UCLA. Big Blue, baby.
That is right.
Okay, here's where it's going to get a little tougher for me because I definitely don't know all of these. Austin Taylor, I'm pretty sure went to Alabama.
Are you pretty sure? Or you're going with
I would say I'm sure. That's my final answer.
That is right. Draco's played at Alabama.
Okay. Now we're talking it's going to be a little tough for me. Blaise Sevier. I'm deciding between Georgetown and Virginia. I'm going to say Georgetown.
Blaise Sevier, Georgetown. Your first miss, Charlie.
Oh. Was Virginia?
It is Virginia. Blaise Sevier, and a Hydra alum.
I feel like maybe because Virginia maybe wasn't as competitive at the time. I just don't remember her playing for Virginia. Or maybe she wasn't as notable in college. I don't know. Am I off base?
I don't think you're totally wrong. I think she came on in really the end of her college career, in part because Virginia wasn't making nationals, but they did make nationals, and she was essentially their best player one year.
Okay, I apologies to Blaise because I should have known that. And then Troy Holland. I mean, geez, I'll go Georgetown. I have no idea where Troy went to college.
Well, you guessed right. Georgetown is right.
Yeah.
His Justice player, Troy Holland. But struggle with the AC crowd, the AC DC area folks, but that is right. Yeah, and you more or less dodged the fakes, Georgia Tech, Washington, and UCSD.
So yeah, I mean, Hancha and UCLA synonymous for me. All right. Well, I'll take it. 4 for 5.
We'll talk more about those players and look at the top players who have changed teams, the biggest roster moves in our sub bonus.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Let's talk some PEC West. Where do you want to start, Keith? Because it's an interesting tournament. I do think Revolver's run probably was the thing that stood out the most to me. But I'm happy to start where you want.
Well, let's just jump in with Revolver taking the win in the men's division. They take down Sockeye 15-11 in the final. They beat Furious George pretty handily in semifinals in an otherwise undefeated weekend. I mean, they really were basically unchallenged throughout the tournament. I think Sockeye's 11 was the most anybody put up on them. Nobody else scored double digits. So a dominant showing for Revolver, which, they didn't play Rhino. They did play Sockeye twice and won those games handily. They also beat Shrimp. But is this kind of what you expect for them? Or, is this they get extra points because they're doing in the early season what most other teams are struggling to do, which is just delivering on pounding teams? What's your takeaway here?
Well, my takeaway is that this is a championship contending team. And I don't think that I really change my opinion, but I will say these results look stronger than I would have expected from them at this point in the year. And, of course, all the caveats about early season, but mostly these teams had their full rosters, and Revolver just really looked like clearly the best team here. Really impressive. And so I don't really change my mind in any way about like their relative level compared to the field, but I think they're maybe a little bit further along than I expected, and maybe they're closer to being a championship team again for the first time in quite some time.
I feel like the last time we talked about the men's division, we'd established tier one, Machine, Pony, Rhino. Are you comfortable after this putting Revolver in that tier?
Absolutely, 100%. So maybe that sounds as an upgrade, but I feel like I don't remember exactly what I said on that tiers podcast, but I already had Revolver pretty high in my pecking order. And so I guess maybe I had them in that fourth spot. But yeah, they're clearly tier one. They're clearly tier one.
Right. So
And
you're
I think Rhino's results this weekend are fine. I'm not. I think they could win again, but I also think it just goes to show you how difficult it is to repeat, and we're already going to see some adversity for the defending champs.
I mean, you've got in that next tier, you've got your teams like Truck, Sockeye, potentially like Dig. We'll see what to actually make of Bravo further down the road. But you think Revolver's closer to the first group of teams, obviously, than the latter group. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, a 4-goal and a 7-goal win against Sockeye, like they're a league better than them.
And Socceye's pretty good.
They're good. They just beat Rhino in semis.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the other big result to talk about is Sockeye beating Rhino in what sounded like a great game. I actually have not had a chance to go back and watch it yet, but I've heard this was a really well played game, an exciting game. Do you feel like this moves the needle for you on what you think of the Sockeye team?
Well, maybe a little further along than we might have thought. A lot of really, really good young players on this team, and I don't think they're going to win a championship, but I also think that they're like Revolver over the last couple of years, probably going to grow into a championship contender over the next couple of seasons. I love the young talent, and we saw a lot of these players show out big time at college nationals. So yeah, I mean, I think for me this weekend. I upgrade Revolver a little bit. I upgrade Sockeye maybe a little bit more, and I downgrade Rhino slightly.
With both Sockeye and Revolver, such a clear path to seeing how those teams get better with the young talent they had on the team and where those players were at last year, and then what we've seen from them since then. And we saw really premier opportunities last year for Declan Miller, for Cedar Hines, for Eli Diamond. Then we saw them perform extremely well in the college scene and beyond. So, everything's on the right trajectory for Sockeye to take a step forward from being a surprise team that really, made a run at quarters last year to being a team that could contend for a semifinal spot. Crowded field right now.
Declan looked awesome this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, how is he going to be an all club guy? Like just like that? Snap your fingers?
If you stop the
what
season
a monster
right now, he would be right.
6 months he's had. He is killing it. Wins a college championship. Looks incredible for the U24 team. Looks like one of the best players on Sockeye, if not the best player on Sockeye. Dude is on fire.
Yeah, he's ready to dominate the club level. I think we're seeing him ascend into being like a consistent every year all club level player right
now. What else stands out from this weekend? I mean, there was clearly a top tier. The Double Wide came in as the 4 seed. They were, but I don't think anybody really expected them to be that team. I mean, I certainly expected Sockeye to get through here. I forget who I picked to make the finals and win. I think I might have picked Revolver. Did I pick Revolver? We have this in our notes somewhere.
I feel like you did. I have to go back and actually do the right. I forgot. I neglected to write down.
We don't have it written down.
I'm sorry.
Devastating. I'm pretty sure I picked Revolver over Rhino. So obviously only get the points for picking Revolver. But yeah, I think this tournament, for whatever reason, maybe I shouldn't say that. These teams were more complete than what we saw at PEC East. And obviously the tournament also happened 2 weeks later. PEC East felt like a preseason, get out there and loosen up type of tournament. And this felt like an actual meaningful club tournament to me. And it just a very different, even though the team composition of the tournaments was fairly similar, this feels like a lot more meaningful to me. I don't know if you feel the same
I
way.
I, I think I agree. I think rosters felt a little more flush. It felt like
Yeah.
there were some skeleton crews last time
Oh,
around,
yeah.
and this felt like it was a little more indicative of overall team strength. Although I'm sure teams are still very much, running pretty open lines and getting young players reps. So it is still July, but this is not when championships are won. But you could start to, I think, form some impressions of teams. You look at the kind of the middle tier from the men's division. Your Furious, Double Wide, Dark Star, General Strike, Shrimp, Condors. Your Condors, I think, acquitted themselves pretty well for a team. I think it would have been easy to
Yes.
assume is going to take a step back, but they have a universe point loss to Rhino. They beat Strike, Shrimp, and Mephisto. Furious lost to that same Mephisto team, although I don't know. Furious is maybe an exception of a team that maybe they're a little shorthanded. Hard to
Yeah.
say. Um,
Well, it's certainly
a
a
lot of
great
the
start
right
for
names are here, but
great start for a two-bid Southwest. Uh, Condors projected at 5th right now in the algorithm. Revolver at number 1. And also look at the Northwest right now. They currently have 4 bid earners in Rhino, Sockeye, Furious, and Shrimp right now at 14th in the projected rankings. And Shrimp looked pretty good. I think they're clearly the bottom of that region, but they could definitely earn a bid.
they could. I mean, I'm maybe a little worried about the fact that they got rolled by the good teams and then had a narrow win over Dark Star. But again, it's July. No need to push the panic button. But there's definitely an opportunity for them to come out and assert themselves in a way by having a close game with one of the top teams and thumping on Dark Star. But instead, they play close and kind of missed that chance. So uh, nothing impressive there.
All right, let's move on to the women's division. A little bit less compelling because Fury just absolutely smoked everyone, Keith. They win 15-8 over Flipside in the finals, and they blanked. They bageled Pop 15-0 in
15-8 was their closest game of the tournament.
My God. Nasty. I mean, we talked about, maybe Flipside, there's a chance to get the upset. No. Completely different tier of teams.
Yeah, Fury, everything you'd expect from them. Great to see that they're able to do that this early in the season. I think it portends very well for their level of success down the line. I mean, I think they're feel like a pretty easy front runner at this point.
Yeah, they have to be considered they maybe are alone in tier 1 right now. I mean, do you put them with these results clearly above Brute and Scandal and Molly and whoever else you want to put in that conversation?
Not until we really see Scandal and Brute do I want to make it obvious, but I think they're clearly at the front of that group. It's just I don't want to declare that there to be a tier break quite yet.
Bobby Goff in the chat says Schwa, we had a 4-1 lead on Fury, largest lead on them anyone has had in the season. We don't have to talk about what happened after that. Final score of that one was Fury 15, Schwa 7. So what is that? It's a 14-3 run to close it out. Yikes.
I don't exactly know what to make of what happened beyond Fury. I mean, I think the Fury result is probably the most telling for championship contenders, but there are a bunch of teams who are probably going to be at nationals in the mix here. And, Traffic makes semis and loses to Flipside 13-10, but they also lost to Schwa. So they lost to Schwa 15-10. It wasn't close in pool play. So, both of those teams could be at nationals, or they could be battling for a spot at nationals, depending on how the season goes. Certainly, we've seen both of those things come about. They ended up losing again to Schwa in consolation play. So, I don't know what that says about what we're going to see out in the Northwest behind. I mean, we could end up in a situation. Riot. It's not like Riot right? Lose to traffic too. It's like I don't even know who exactly should be the favorite in the Northwest. Uh, those three teams seem like on any given day anything could happen.
Yeah, and like, what's the bid situation going to be?
Exactly.
Right now, one bid. Yikes. I think that will probably resolve, but it's not guaranteed. There's definitely some questionable teams still hanging around, like Dimes, a second team from the South Central. They're not going to stick around. Colorado small batch, probably also not, but we'll see. You know, they're both undefeated. You never know. If you play the right kind of schedule, it can end up working out. We've seen it before. I don't really know what else to make of this tournament. As Manny points out in the chat, Fury's playing open lines. Um, it's crazy. It's crazy. Emph says, when is Fury going to have to start paying luxury tax?
Everybody is playing open lines now, I'm pretty sure. But also, unlike most teams, I don't know that Fury ever stops playing open lines. They play open lines like in the finals.
It's not exactly open lines. It's just like balanced, incredibly good and balanced roster. Yeah, it's just Fury. It's just the Fury way. Let's see. I'm just checking the chat real quick. Oh, Max Charles says, how about that David Sealand catch in semis? There were some sick plays all around. You got to catch the tape if you haven't watched it, folks.
Shayla Harris had a monster sky.
Nasty.
For Fury in the final. There's some good ones.
Anything else here?
No, I mean, I'm ready to wade into the madness of the mixed division, where I don't know what we learned, but something is happening. There's something cooking. I don't know what it is exactly.
Nobody went undefeated. Mischief wins the tournament 13-11 over BFG in the final. Mischief lost to Shame in the crossover. Mischief beats Tower by 1 goal in semis. And Shame loses to Dragon by a goal in quarters. And then stomps the rest of the way. I don't know. Like,
let me continue to mire you down, Charlie, here, because that Dragon team that beat Shame, they lost to Tower and twice and BFG. BFG opened the tournament 0-2, then won 3 straight to lose in the finals to Mischief. Mixtape, they started out 2-0, and then lost 3 in a row. So I don't know what I don't know, man.
You want my take? Here's my take. Mischief, BFG, Dragon, Tower, and Shame are all good. That's my take. I don't think any of those teams is necessarily like way better than any of the other teams in the list that I just gave you. And I think that's why you're seeing this variance. I mean, it's also early season and it's, whatever. You're not running tight rotations, but I do think that, like, I think Mischief is for real. Like, I don't think this is a cheapy win. And the fact that they lost to Shame is mostly an indicator of that Shame is good, not that Mischief is fraudulent or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm high on Mischief. I was high on Mischief coming into the season, just looking at the roster. I know, I felt pretty good about them last year. Obviously, that didn't work out. Southwest Regionals could again be a minefield, but I do like Mischief. I hope that they make it out so that I can be bullish on them at Nationals. But it's not going to be an easy task. I think I mostly agree with your assessment, but man, we've already seen stumbles from basically everybody we thought was like a clear title contender. We've seen early season missteps from Hybrid, from Shame, from Exist. Now there's Mischief and Toro in the mix. What do you do with Dragon? Like, I don't think our power rankings have officially released, but I think we were talking about 4, maybe 5 different teams that could arguably be number 1 in the power rankings.
There's no,
like, that's unheard of.
Yeah, there's no clear pecking order right now. And Jason Yoon in the chat says, terrible take. We are actually all bad. It's possible you're all just bad. That's true. Everyone sucks. We could have a crazy circle of suck like by the end of the year, right? Like
It's almost impossible that we won't right now, right? Because
right,
everybody is losing
right.
randomly.
I mean, I think some of it's about matchup, some of it's about like what is the energy and intensity you bring to a given game, and like relatively balanced rosters among these top level teams. So, uh, how about I don't think we knew this, Keith, coming in, and we're going to talk more about this in our sub bonus with like player moves and stuff. But no Sarah Mexstroth for Dragon Thrust. Does this downgrade them
Big.
for you?
I mean, how can it not? She's like been one of the best players in mixed competition for her entire career. Like aside from the times that she left mixed, they also lose Dylan DeClerc. I think
Yeah.
he's not on this tournament roster. Those are two like all club level players. It's hard, they have young players who will step forward. They have Arya Kishner and the Suflos, who I think are going to continue to develop as players as well. So, I'm not saying that they're not a contender by any means, but it's hard not to feel like you're going to downgrade them based on that piece of information.
Crazy weekend overall. I'm excited for US Open. We should get some really good games. Because I thought that like the level of play in like semis and finals in particular was quite high. Just cross
Yeah,
the board.
I don't know what the path could be to me right now based on what I'm seeing, feeling like I'm going into like regionals weekend with like, okay, this is clearly the team that is going to win nationals or whatever. Like, I feel like we are locked into having a team seeded like 7 through 11 making the final at nationals in the mixed division.
Uh yeah, I have no idea what to
Have fun with your projected seeding when it comes to
yeah,
nationals time, Charlie.
good luck, right? Um we'll see. We'll see. We might get some clarity later in the season as things settle down and we get through the UFA season, etc. Um Wild stuff though. Let's talk about SFI East a little bit. And we got to begin with the was for sure the hot topic in the Discord and among teams at the tournament. Saturday play after 2 rounds getting suspended and canceled for the rest of the day due to heat. And then they started play on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. A lot of unhappy players about this heat cancellation on Saturday. Now, I'm actually working on an article about this, and I'm going to go fairly in depth about kind of the heat topic. I'm going to be talking to researchers about heat and the effect on the human body, and like if you're in the Discord, you already know this. I am annoyed with the amount of times that we are seeing heat like impacting competition like this when it's really not that hot. I feel like the thresholds for things to start happening at ultimate tournaments is much too low. And there's way too much risk aversion here to the point where, in the case of SFI East, you have a cancellation because it's pretty hot. And like, it's definitely pretty hot. It's like around 90 degrees and pretty humid. But then instead, they're playing 4 games on Sunday starting at 7 a.m. in relatively similar hot and humid conditions. To me, that just doesn't make sense when you're talking about it from some sort of player safety perspective, especially given the gameplay in Ultimate. I've already waxed on this a ton. I'm curious for your thoughts on this weekend and more generally, like the heat issues where it feels like USA Ultimate has thresholds that are like designed for high school football players being applied to like a well-trained adult Ultimate club community.
Oh, I feel like well-trained adult Ultimate Club community is probably not an accurate description of SFI East field.
Hey, come on! Like
I
these teams might not be that good, but these teams are in good shape and I have serious players on them.
I don't disagree with that, but you got to make your policy for the general populace, not for you know the Nationals elite players necessarily. Like and those who are scattered amongst other rosters. Like the Heat policy is for everybody, not just that subgroup of people. That's one of the challenges that USA Ultimate faces. I think I'm a little more understanding of how USA Ultimate ends up in this position. Like I think players on the ground saying like I feel like I could play is not really great evidence and probably not what USA Ultimate should be going based on. I think people generally overestimate their ability to perform well and safely in heat, and a lot of times the only times that there's a problem is after it's too late. Once people start passing out. And so I understand that the lean towards caution. I think I will say one from personal anecdote, I feel like it has been really hot and humid this summer, at least where we are, more so than in previous years. I don't know if that's necessarily the case everywhere or if that's even like scientifically verified, but to me, it feels like the heat index has been really high this summer. On our board, we weren't having the conversations at Summer League that we are this year about heat safety and about having to take like heat timeouts and stuff. But so I can't really speak to that. And I also am not an expert in the field. So I don't want to say, what necessarily should be the thresholds that we're using. I'm willing to defer to the experts that I hope USA Ultimate is consulting with to arrive at those conclusions. But I will jump on with you in the area where I have suspicions that we're not quite in the right area, which is the remedies for those problems. I'm not sure, like you're saying, if the alternative is play 4 games in the same conditions the next day, like that doesn't actually seem like that's safer. It's not even clear to me that the current like heat timeout added breaks in games is actually better. Like most of the time, players are just standing in the heat. Like, is that actually physically safer for them? Or would we be better playing a shorter game that ends sooner? I don't know what the actual solution is, but like I will say when we're at these tournaments and we're taking these heat timeouts and like teams are standing on the line or milling about on the sideline, like are they actually any safer? That part I would like to have somebody inform me on that because it doesn't feel any better to me watching it.
Listen, so there's multiple things, right? So there's like what happens when it gets hot, but not unsafe. And right now we have these long 4-minute heat timeouts that I think mostly end up feeling like way too long and are not actually productive for exactly the reason you're saying. Like people aren't going into the shade and staying in the shade for 4 minutes and then coming out to the line. They're like going in, getting a water break, and then they're coming back out and they're like, hey, can we play? No, we have to wait 2 more minutes while you stand in the sun. So why are we doing it that way? Like take more. My thought is, and again, I'm going to write an article and I'm going to flesh this out. This is just like pure gut right now. Take 2 like 45-second breaks per half where players are like encouraged to go into the shade and take a water break. I mean, maybe 45 seconds is a little too short, but like more shorter breaks, maybe a longer halftime. And possibly if it gets really hot, you consider shortening caps because, it's the time in competition that is the issue. The thing is, this is not football where people are in pads and they're like, their skin can't breathe as well. This is not soccer where the same players are on the field for 45 minutes straight without breaks running around. The sport itself is different and has natural breaks built into it every 2 minutes. And that's not including the times that players are not on the field and can go into a shade tent and have some water and take a break. Like, I think right now the threshold for the wet bulb globe temperature, which is basically a heat plus humidity plus sun angle and intensity plus wind, kind of like overall assessment of how hot it feels. The threshold for that is 90 degrees. If it's above 90 degrees on the wet bulb globe temperature, they cancel play. And that number is just too low. It's too low. These are adults. This is not like high school kids untrained. We need to rate, and already there's regional variation there. Most hot southern states don't set the cancellation of play until 92 degrees. I think we need to be smarter about how we handle this issue, because we're ultimately, players are outside in the parking lot at the hotel throwing at 3:34 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturday because it's nice out. They like canceled the whole day and just said, forget it, we're done. And then it ended up being completely fine. It was not too hot. And that's assuming that they canceled at that 90-degree threshold. I just, to me, it should be treated like lightning delay, where it's like, okay, it's too hot to play right now. I think you need to raise the threshold. I think you need to change the way that you do the timeouts. Anyway, more to come on this. I just, when I get a ton of players texting me being like, it is completely ridiculous, we're not playing right now, clearly something is wrong.
I agree with that. And I also, like, again, like you said with lightning delays, like sometimes you cancel play for weather and then the weather clears up. Like, if you have to make a decision at some point, and sometimes forecasts don't help you out with that. But I agree with what you're saying about, it seems like there was some disconnect between players on the ground, who I still think we have to say are not necessarily the greatest judges of whether or not they should play. And we have like I said, I know you keep saying like, okay, these are athletic adults. The thresholds are for everybody playing USAU club. There could be high school kids. There could be less athletic people. There could be master's level players. They're older than that.
It's
not
fair.
Every club team
it's fair.
They have to make these regulations for everybody. And maybe that's a different problem. Maybe they should be separated. But then, are you just going to say like, oh, we're just going to assume that if you're not on a nationals level team, that you're a lower level athlete and can't handle? I don't know. That's a sticky situation of its own. But.
Let me be clear. There is clearly a level of heat where it's unsafe to play and you should cancel games. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen. But what I am saying is that they're canceling way too prematurely right now. And, the whole remedy system for how we're doing it doesn't make sense for the sport and the way it's being played. So I think it ends up being an irritant rather than like a safety thing. And that to me means that there has to be change here. These heat rules got put into place, by the way, back at the Texas College Nationals when everybody was freaking out. And it was going to be so horribly hot that we wouldn't be able to play. And it ended up being totally fine.
It was brutal on turf at D3. That was hard.
Oh, dude, those games probably should have been canceled, but they didn't want to cancel them because it was like the bracket, and they had no way of like, what were they going to do? That's the hottest ultimate I've ever experienced. I was running a camera during that, and I had to take shade breaks, just standing in the sun and like put ice towels on my neck and stuff, and I was just standing there. I have never experienced heat like that. And that to me is like where suspending play would be completely acceptable. And I think the turf versus grass conversation is a whole separate issue that is basically not considered. Like when you do the tests with the wet bulb globe, like reader, the actual, the instrument that measures it, if you put it on turf and you put it on grass, it doesn't really show a difference. And most of it has to do with like humidity is higher on grass, but it's hotter on turf, but those end up kind of like balancing out. But I think every ultimate player knows it is way hotter to play on turf. And It maybe is because like the bottom half of your body is really exposed to the heat coming off of the turf in a way that maybe the instrument is not. But it's clearly so much worse to play on turf from like a just heat management perspective. And that should be considered too.
I think I do want to move on to talk about SFI. We've plenty of other stuff, but I do have one final thing, which is like, I think one of the other challenges is actually changing the behavior of players. I think Kelly in the chat said that she was reading some articles, and it seems like getting cold fluid intake and actually doing something to cool off is what actually helps you. And USAU can't mandate players do that. Or the tournaments keep that happening. So like the ideal situation for like lightning safety or heat safety would be USAU informs the players and the players take care of business and take care of themselves. But that's not actually what happens. So USAU gets put in a more difficult spot where they have to make arbitrary decisions about stuff.
Yeah.
Ideally, I think what you'd want is them to provide information on how to care for yourself in this situation. But it's the same thing with lightning. I see all the time there are lightning breaks at tournaments outside throwing, and like it's simply not safe. They do it
Oh, yeah,
anyway
for
because
sure.
they're willing to take on that risk, even though they shouldn't. And
Right.
it's the same thing that we see with heat. If we could have players behave in a rational way, then that would help a lot. But that's not where we're at. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there are things that can be done, right? Every TCT event should have a shade tent at every field, and there should be for hot weather tournaments, which is most of the summer club tournaments, especially if you're going to have something south of, let's say Washington D.C. It's going to get hot. It's going to be hot. You should have coolers with ice and towels in them at every field. Like those are things that USAU can do. Now they can't force the players to use those things, but they can provide them, and those aren't like complicated or expensive. I'm not saying you need to have a misting tent at every field. Would that be nice? Sure, but if it's humid, it doesn't even help that much. But like ice down towels, shade tents, that should be basically mandatory. And I don't really, some people's going to come in and be like, oh, well, then they're going to get fewer bids for tournaments because people don't want to provide that. Well, too bad. Like, figure it out. Like to me, TCT events, regionals plus series events should all have this level of expectation about, what is provided, even for the select flight invites. All right, should we talk about the games?
how much more attractive does my indoor turf facility hypothetical look right now?
Well, I got a mailbag question from Jody Avergan. I don't know, maybe last summer. It was basically like, if it keeps being this hot, what are we supposed to do? Like, should we just play in Canada? Now he was joking, but there is. Here's the other thing, right? If you're going to hold a tournament in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and then you're going to be wanting to cancel it when it's 90 degrees outside and humid, which is like the literal normal summer weather there, then why are you holding a tournament there?
Well, you know what happens when they don't hold tournaments there is everybody complains that all the tournaments are far away from them and they have to travel and bear the cost of that. So,
And so people are
not
saying in
gonna.
the chat there were no shade tents at SFI. And to me, that should be considered completely unacceptable for a TCT level event.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't. USAU has some room to do that sort of thing before people start to complain that costs are going up or TDs. There's not enough TDs. Like now, you're thrusting a lot of work onto the volunteers, which sucks too.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
Like if you
somebody's
want to
got
have heat
to make things
safety,
better.
having
Somebody's got to
shade
bear the
tents
cost.
is the literal basic like expectation that you should have at a tournament. Like that shade tent is more important than canceling games.
Charlie, do we need to start an Ulti-World cooldown towel and shade tent company? Like, do we? Is there a subsidiary we could start here that could both help the community
Yeah.
and line our pockets?
Shade tent rental company will deliver. Aubrey says there were no shade tents at PEC West either. I mean, like, come on. That's to me, it's like I understand that you can't expect every kind of casual TD to have 16 shade tents or 32. Really, I mean, it depends how many fields you've got running, but you need to have a shade tent for each team. But then USAU needs to step up and keep some in trailers or in storage at different places of the country, because I think it's not acceptable to not have shade tents at these tournaments, and you can't expect players to bring them because people are flying. It's like hard to manage that.
But you're slowly adding more and more things that like show how difficult it is to like logistically manage this. Now USAU's
I
got
don't
storage
care.
containers full
I
of
don't
shade
care.
tents everywhere.
Money. Okay, bid fees go up. We need to have shade tents at tournaments. I don't care. There's this is not an excuse. You can go to Walmart and buy the shade tents.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the games.
All right, fine. Let's do it. What happened at SFI East, Keith?
I, I guess I want to start in the men's division. Maybe this is the most significant result. I don't know if you could probably make a good case for the women's division as well. But Florida Untied gets the win. 12-10 over Vault. I think this game was affected by the heat situation. I can't speak to like exactly how the changes in the schedule affected teams, but Vault's been a pretty strong team, and Florida untied surprise result. Like, dude, is this team for real?
Yes, they're for real. I think clearly they shortened games because these are 90-minute rounds, which means that hard caps couldn't have gone on probably much later than 75 minutes or so. But yeah, no, I think Florida's for real, Keith. Like,
I mean, the results
they
from
come
this
out this
tournament are strong.
weekend. They don't blow away these sort of mediocre teams, but getting a win over Vault in the final feels like relatively meaningful. And I'm very curious to see if this team can earn a bid.
That part I think would be hard. I think they're in a tough spot in the Southeast. I think it's going to be difficult.
16th right now.
Things are going to change a lot, right? And ultimately they'll end up having to contend with not just Ring and Chain, who may not even be locks to both earn bids themselves, but also
For sure, true.
Having to deal with RDU and whatever other teams pop up in the South. Like, it's a tough racket. It's possible though, but I feel like they're going to want 3 bids, and this is a good start. This is the right direction if they want to earn 3 bids, but I wouldn't bet on it yet.
Well, I mean, this does feel like the kind of like Florida United style. I mean, obviously they went with Untied as a connection to that, where like they brought the best players in Florida together on a team, and like that means they're going to be pretty good. They might not go to nationals, but they're going to be competitive, and it's probably going to come down to bids. Great start.
Yeah. Blueprint, Flying Dutchman, the other teams that made semifinals here. Vault getting 11-9 win over Blueprint. Temper, also an Alliance, Alabama Alliance, both going undefeated in pool play. So teams to watch out for. GOAT, by the way, 1-2 in pool play. I don't know what former roster GOAT sent to this tournament, but they went 3-3 with losses to notables like Scoop and Shade. So rough start for
notables, Keith. You're giving them bulletin board material.
Rough start for GOAT. Probably out of the bid picture right now. That's one.
Wow.
You can't win a bid. You can't win a bid in July, but I feel like you could lose one.
Well, I mean, these results are so much worse than their PEC East results that I feel like they must not have had the same roster, right?
Surely they did not. Although they've got
the B team.
They've got Appletons and Blastman and Andrew Carroll and Remy Ojo and Kamire, Keith McRae.
Did all those guys actually play?
I don't know if they were there, but they're on the roster.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to a competitive GOAT again, but it's they're cooked, right? Because they're in the Great Lakes. If they don't enter a bid, there's no way they're beating Machine. No chance.
Yeah, they're going to become big fans of whoever's playing out of Indianapolis.
For what it's worth, they are at 15th right now, and technically bid earning, but Machine has not played, right? So I'm not sure what will happen as the teams that haven't played file in here, but GOAT's on the threshold. I'm not sure if they're playing again though, because they have Canadian nationals, and it's a World's year, so they maybe are done. So they're going to have to
hope and pray. You ever had cooked GOAT, Charlie? You ever had cooked GOAT?
Oh yeah.
You might be getting some more. They might be cooked.
I lived in Lefferts Gardens. I've had plenty of Jamaican and Trini GOAT dishes over the years.
Let's go to the women's division.
Let's do it.
I think you got some other pretty notable results. Bent getting a win over Irish 12-8 in the final. They
slayed everybody
at the tournament, which is what you would expect. I think anything less than that, honestly, and you might be concerning. Like, even if it was all green and they were winning games like 15-11, you'd be like, this is not great for Bet. They rolled everybody. Irish narrow win over Starling in the semifinals. This doesn't feel like it really tells me much about, like, changes my opinion, I should say, on Iris. They'll be a back end of nationals quality team probably. Whether or not they get there will depend on the bid picture a little bit. Right around the same line, and Bet a good good step ahead of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost more interesting to talk about the next teams down because Bent did what they needed to do, right? They took care of business. Iris, the 2 seed, Starling, the 3 seed, teams in the Northeast, and Iris wins 11-10 in semis. And so a little bit of an early salvo there, and both of those teams could end up earning bids potentially. Right now, the Northeast sitting on 4, Iris at the 6 spot, and Starling at the 10 spot. So TBD.
Yeah, not necessarily great results for the other challenger teams, Siege,
No.
Heist, Crush City, teams that, we look for to see like, okay, could this be an up year for them? Could they maybe fight their way into a bid or be an upset team at regionals? Not the best early returns for those squads.
California Burrito wins the mixed division at SFI East. They travel all the way out from San Diego. Khalif El Salam and company. A couple of close wins, 13-12 over Anthem. Then they win in the finals 11-10 over Pittsburgh Port Authority. I don't think this team is going to be like a great team, but they could be a nationals team, and this certainly sets them on the right path.
I think that they're going to be one of those teams you're afraid to play at Southwest Regionals in the backdoor bracket. I mean, this feels like exactly the type of team that, Towers not making nationals this year, and this is a Lotus variant, so to speak. This feels like that kind of team, and we already just talked about how dangerous the Southwest is. To add another team to the mix, just makes the cocktail all the more poisonous.
Yeah, I don't have much else to make about this tournament. Anything to say about Pittsburgh Port Authority?
I mean, it's good that they reach the final. They play a close game with Burrito. I think that marks them as again a potential challenger. We've said that about this team before. So keep an eye on where they will end up in the Mid-Atlantic full race, but it's a tough hill to climb.
All right, one more notable result this weekend, and it was not at a TCT event, but rather at the, what was it called? Swamp Round Robin?
Swampy Round Robin? Swamp Round, I don't know.
Something like that. Women's division tournament, and there's what you need to know. Brute Squad, 15-8 over Scandal in the final. Wow.
Yeah, a pretty strong field at this tournament. Obviously a great result for Brute Squad. Not exactly sure what rosters look like. But again, this is another one of those things where it's like, okay, you take note, regardless of how the rosters played out, when one team is doing the beatdown.
Yeah. It was the Swamp seasonal invite, by the way. Brute Squad goes undefeated. Big win over Scandal, of course. They also beat Phoenix, Ozone, Flight, and Grit. Closest game was against Phoenix, 13-10. So to me, strong results. Brute's going to be a competitor, but I still just think Fury looks like clearly the team to beat this year, especially after what they did last season.
Yeah, I still want to see Brute in a more formal context before I agree with you. Fury's got to be number one, but how close Brute and Scandal are going to be is still up for debate in my mind.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we've got the UFA playoff picture, and we're talking a little Masters Nationals. Get you ready for it. We're streaming this weekend, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
different day. If I'm getting paid, then you know I'm on the way. Pushing PCH crib, feeling like a cage. TVs in the whip, and they playing Soul Train, yeah. Gold chain hanging from my chest. Rockin' bell bottoms, baby boy, I'm the best. Platform shoes got me feeling top deck. On the yacht, I'm a hot girl, show me some respect. Yeah, I'm a dawn and you know it. I'm giving you a shot, show up, don't blow it. If I'm in my zone, don't stop me flowing. Gotta give me a moment, I'm a star, let me show it. Some people say I'm too far gone, but I'm right where I belong. They can't help but see me shine. I'm hella fly and my money long. Everybody wanna tag along. I'ma be that girl till I die.
We're back on Deep Look. UFA pretty much all wrapped up. All the playoff teams are decided. The only thing we're waiting on at this point is to see if Austin wins this coming weekend to clinch the 1 seed in the South. So let's take a look at the results from this weekend. Keith, you and I were both at the Empire drubbing of the Philadelphia Phoenix in what was essentially a win and in game. New York wins by 8, and honestly, the game was not close after the second quarter. Just a complete destruction. I haven't seen New York beat a team like that since they beat Vegas early in the season.
Dogged them, and basically all in one quarter. Just reset defense, just absolutely shut down the Phoenix attack. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't clear space quick enough in that area. They started, and once the run started, they started making mistakes, and it was easy for New York to pull away, and tough to fight back from that. And I don't think Philly really ever seemed like they recovered from that.
Yeah. Atlanta burying Carolina's hopes and putting that demon to bed before the playoffs, Keith. Atlanta's either going to get the 2 seed or the 1 seed. If Austin loses, Atlanta has the tiebreaker, so they'll get the 1 seed. Do you think they should be the favorite though, regardless? In the
division?
In the division.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean,
Austin gets so many free wins; it's ridiculous. If I was another owner in the South, I'd be like, this cannot persist like this. They get like
I think
a million games against Houston, and then they play LA.
Atlanta, if Atlanta has to play 2 games, one of which would be against Austin on the road, like just mathematically, you got to say they have less odds of making championship weekend,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, it's fair.
So in that sense, but I think we will be looking at Atlanta as the best team out of the South in that situation. I think. I mean, I wouldn't totally put it past San Diego. And how big is that weird rain flood game gonna like that? That could be decisive here if Atlanta ends up tied with Austin if they go out and lose this weekend to Carolina.
Right.
And you said that was the only thing that's up in the air. I don't think that's true, right? I think Oakland and Colorado might be able to switch spots. They both play this weekend. Oakland plays San Diego, and Seattle and Colorado play in Colorado. So I think if Colorado wins that and Oakland loses, maybe Colorado switches spots. Is that right? I could be wrong.
It just depends on who owns the tiebreaker. I admittedly haven't like dug into every single possible outcome, but let me just check. Colorado beat Oakland 24-21 in their only meeting. So yeah, you're right.
So Colorado
would take the top spot with a win and an Oakland loss. That's correct.
And that's definitely on the table. San Diego's good enough to beat Oakland in Oakland.
I think Austin's pretty heavily favored this weekend in my mind because Carolina is probably not going to send their best roster, and Austin has a much bigger incentive to actually care and try and win that game.
And Al Laviolette,
I know, my gosh,
missed that one after the injury at the end of that Atlanta game. That really sucks.
Just such a dumb,
he's having his best season and
dumb foul, dumb injury.
So yeah, not a great look there.
Overall, though, are you surprised by any of the playoff teams this year? I think this is the set that I would have picked.
The only one that
No, maybe South
really
San Diego. I would have had Carolina.
San Diego, I think, is the surprise team. And not by a huge margin, but they are the surprise team in my mind. I think there's probably a world in which you could have gotten yourself excited about the Cascades, but obviously that didn't come to fruition. And maybe you could have gotten hyped on the preseason hype on Toronto. You could have bought that, but I don't know if you would have gotten away from Boston, DC, New York ultimately.
Yeah, and all that Philly hot start kind of just faded out, didn't it? They ended up going 1-5 against teams 500 or better on the season. They got that DC win early in the year.
And the DC win early
was like, oh my gosh. And then they never beat a good team again.
Were the Birds ever really hot, Yeah.
They're a solid middle of the pack team. But, they clearly were just behind those top 3 teams in the East.
Agreed. Funny that EMF said the only important thing from that New York Philly game is that Solomon Rochmeyer-Bailey threw his first huck of the season and ruined his stats with an incompletion. It was just pretty funny.
Antoine Davis also had his only turnover of the season in the game.
Yes, he's like 15 for 16 now. And Solomon Rochmeyer-Bailey was by far had thrown the most throws of the season without a huck yet, and just decided this was the time. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It's SRB time. Quote SRB.
Incompletion. So yeah, I mean the playoffs should be really good. I think it's the most open year we've ever had in terms of who could win the title. I think you can imagine a world for me, except in the Central. I think I'm pretty confident Chicago's going to make the final. Otherwise, I think any of the teams from the other divisions could make it to championship weekend. And yes, I'm disrespecting Minnesota, but I think Chicago's clearly looked a step above them.
I pretty much think I agree with you. I'm maybe iffy on. I think San Diego's good, but I don't know if I could see them winning 2 games in a row on the road. That seems I'm pretty skeptical of that, but.
Probably not, but if they can get past Atlanta, I definitely think they can beat Austin.
Yeah, it's true. I see where you're cooking with.
All right.
Who's the favorite? I don't even know.
To win the title? Chicago for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Boston has showed some backsliding a little bit. Like the super hyper patient offense is starting to get bogged down at times. I know, but they almost lost to New York, and they lost a game that didn't matter to them against DC. But I don't know. They just eye test wise, they don't look as convincing as Chicago to me. But those are the 2 best rosters in the league. That's what we said at the start of the year. Remember we had Lep on and he was just hating on him.
Yeah. Well, at least nobody was hyping up Minnesota. That might have been done. Carolina Flyers first time ever they missed the playoffs.
Crazy. And it's interesting. They actually were pretty good. They had to play Atlanta a ton. They had some tough out of division games, and Austin gets all these free wins. It's makes it hard. You have to outperform the other good teams. And structurally, it's just much more challenging for Carolina to make the playoffs.
Well, and maybe we're going to be ringing some alarm bells. The UNC disappointing college season. Ring roster looks a little bare.
Phoenix,
are you going to be worrying? Is that you got an exodus of talent?
Everybody coming to New York, baby.
Saying.
All right. What is next? We've got Masters Nationals coming up this weekend. Let's take a look at the streaming schedule. Do we have it? I actually don't even know if we have it. It says we have it, so I'm hoping we have it. And there it is. Quarters, semis, and then the finals. And then I think we're doing some Grandmaster stuff too. There's your so you got your third place games. You got the Great Grandmasters men's and Masters men's finals on Sunday, 10:45. And then the Masters women's final, the Masters mixed final at 1. And And then some Grandmasters men's and mixed semis. And then on Monday, we've got the finals from those divisions, including GGM women's and then the GM men's mixed and women's. So should be fun out in Colorado. This is always a fun tournament. What we decided to do, we're going to do a little preview. We're going to just kind of look at some of the Masters division. We're not going to do the greats and the greats and the grandpa and whatever else divisions. But just the Masters divisions.
Legends.
Yeah.
That's the next. That's if we go any older than Great Grandmasters, Legends
60
is the
plus.
right name for it.
What's the oldest age like threshold right now?
I don't know. I don't know what the Great Grandmasters threshold is, but I do think USAU will keep creating divisions as long as people are willing to pay money to play in them.
Okay, Great Grandmasters is 48 plus men, 45 plus women. So I think we're Legends 55. Does that sound right?
Yeah, games to 7.
So make sure you tune in for the games. The finals are going to be awesome. The top level teams are really good. So let's take a look at some of these rosters. Keith, where do you want to start?
This is an annual right, Charlie, of making me feel incredibly old.
Oh yeah.
Looking through these rosters and being like, this person being Masters eligible, absolutely crushing, soul crushing every year. I mean, why don't we start in the women's division? Because I feel like that's the one that gets me the most.
Okay.
So what I'm like,
so
I can't believe.
There's your bracket. There's your pools. Pumas is the 1 seed. Old News, Ripe, Nighttime. Don't worry. We don't know anything about these teams either. But we're going to look at some of the rosters so that we can at least enjoy and think about, they might win. Let's take a look at the Ripe roster. I think this is my favorite probably coming in. No, I'm sorry. This is the North Carolina team. I'm pretty sure
Old News.
Old News is the one that I think is
Old
going
News
to
is
win.
the DC team.
So there's Old News. This is good. This is a good team. You got some. Yeah, got some legit firepower on this team. Linda Morse, Liz Hart, Claire Revere, Carolyn Normile, Lizzie Laurie, Sarah Mextra. I mean, like this is like these are current club players. I think this team is like a quarters
at nationals team.
Yes. I don't even think it's going to be competitive. There's not really another roster that looks anywhere near this in the women's division this season.
I think that's probably right. I think they potentially are going to thump everybody. This roster is stacked. I don't know if there's any other team that I'm like, oh yeah, they could go to club nationals and like make orders pretty confidently. I don't know if I feel that way about anybody else.
Let's take a look at Pumas. This is the 1 seed. Out of St. Louis. There's some good players on this team. It's like there's players who are currently playing on Nemesis on this roster, but it's just not in the same stratosphere as the one we just saw.
I agree. Now that the second spot in the finals, that's kind of up for grabs. I think that the seeding, it's not based on much, so I wouldn't get too caught up on it.
No.
As far as like who's going to be that next team up, we're really just perusing rosters and hoping that you kind of guess right.
Let's take a look at Nighttime. This is the team out of Oakland. There it is.
Come on, man. Marissa Rafter is in and Kobe are in Masters. Like, I must be so old.
We're old. We're Masters eligible. But yeah, it is kind of crazy to see. It's like you remember being like, oh yeah, Marissa Rafter won the Callahan. Like that was not so long ago.
Yeah.
Pretty good team, but this is not like a mega Bay Area team this year. So I think it's pretty clear that Old News is going to be the favorite. All right, let's go to mixed. Let's take a look at the pools. We'll begin there. Regret. Can you name the team for which that is the Masters version?
I'm pretty sure it's Shame, right? Shame and Regret.
The period gives it away, Keith.
Yes.
Yeah. Regret is the Shame Masters team. We've got Atlanta Fox.
It's got to be just the same roster, right?
Basically,
everybody
let's take a look at it.
Is Masters eligible.
Let's take a look at the Regret roster. Here it is. There is a lot of really good Shame players on this team.
and Caleb Dedecourt. What?
And others. Yeah. So you've got Schnuska, you've got Jade McLaughlin, Joe Anderson, like that.
Ito, Smash, yeah.
Yeah.
Dietrich. Yeah. This seems good.
Sarah
And they're
Pesh.
gonna have a lot of they're good.
They're gonna be very good. Let's take a look at some of the teams that
Masters.
could challenge them. Let's look at the 2 seed Atlanta Fox. A pretty solid. I mean, Keith, you would know better than me. How do you feel like this team stacks up with that Regret team?
I think did they win last year? Did Fox win last year? I'm not sure. But I mean, you look at this roster.
I have no idea.
And there's definitely some names who have been strong Cub players even recently. Keith Travaglini, Nick Spiva, Paige Carver, Lila Stanlin, Byron Liu, Audrey Lyman, Lexi Garrity. Where's Lexi Garrity and Meaty Chang coming from? How'd they end up here? Some throwback names, especially back in my day, with Sam Doherty and Elliot Erickson. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good team.
They're solid. By the way, Aubrey
and Nick Spiva is a pretty nice duo.
Regret won last year over Fox 15-14. Thank you to the Shame folks in the chat. Aubrey notes that the average age on Shame is 32.8. So they are almost averaging a Masters aged player in the men's side. So we could have another classic between those two teams. Very possible. Let's take a look at Dragon Rust. This is the 3 seed. Of course, the Minneapolis team. Also really solid. A lot of good players on this roster too, but maybe not quite the same level of current like competitive club players.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're still going to get a lot of run out of Chip Chang and Sydney French. Those are players who still have been playing at the elite club level. But
James Huron is probably still a problem.
At Masters, yes. I think he might be a little over the hill for prime, as I've come to call it.
Yeah. One more. Let's take a look at Slower. This is of course, the Boston team, or one of the Boston teams. I don't know how many Boston teams made it, but again, a lot of really good players here.
I mean, there are definitely a bunch of players
Lana
who've torn it up at Club Nationals recently. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of Schwab, Peter Pryl, Aaron Ray, Dory Zipperstein, Davis Whitehead, Alex Trahey.
Lexi Zalk. Yep.
This is a contender team, I think.
I think all the teams we just looked at could win. They could win. All right, let's take a look at the men's division. Here's the pools. Voltron 2020, a stalwart at Masters Nationals, is the 1 seed. Boneyard the 2, another super consistent team. Hip Replacements 3. I love the name. Johnny Encore is the 4. Surly the 5. All bashed out the 6th. We see a lot of these teams year to year. Let's take a look at the Voltron roster. It's always fun to take a look at how damn good this team is. There it is, Keith. Absolutely nasty. It's mostly Seattle, but also some insane pickups from other places. So, take your favorites. Name some players.
How does this team do it at Club Nationals?
That's
what I want to know.
Pre-quarters, maybe quarters, maybe.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, here's a question: if this team played the U24 men's national team that just won a gold medal, who wins?
The U24 team.
I agree.
15, 11.
I was talking with David
15,
Allison,
10.
one of the coaches, and we were discussing how far the U24 team could go at nationals. And the consensus was quarters, maybe semis.
Yeah, that feels about right.
Yeah. But this is a great team.
Names
Let's just do some name drop for the podcast listeners. Yeah.
All right. Simon Montague, Christian Foster. You mentioned Ben Snell, Morgan Hibbert, Mario O'Brien, Jay Clark.
I
Von
mean,
Allen
everyone
Gilon.
on this team
Where'd
is
he
good.
go?
Exactly. Von Allen Gilon out of nowhere.
Love it.
Karlinski still out there. O-line handling. Love it. But yeah, this is a really good team. Really, really good team. Let's take a look at the Boneyard roster. This is the 2 seed.
Yeah,
Mostly
I mean,
North
to
Carolina,
me,
again, plus some pickups. They're
doesn't
nasty too.
it kind of feels like every year it's these 2 teams, right? You're
Ryan
talking about which
Oscar,
one of these teams is going to win.
Nethercutt, Rico, Chris LaRock.
Yeah, Chris
Wow.
LaRock,
Did he?
Nico.
When is the last time he played? Oh my God, that's amazing. I wonder if he played Masters last year.
This team's good. No Saul.
Matsuka. Yeah.
Ryan Oscar.
They're really good.
Yeah. Okay.
Kieran Allen. There's a name I haven't said in a while. Okay.
We're watching enough Aurora back in the day.
Let's go to hip replacements. So this is your Texas team. Good, but I don't know if they're going to have the firepower to hang with those top 2 teams.
Yeah, Abe
Coffin, Dalton Smith, Chase Cunningham,
Ben Lewis.
Probably the biggest names. Yep. Solid. Now, here's the sneaky one, Keith.
Chase Cunningham is in Masters. What are we doing?
The 9 seed.
Eaching.
I think they're the 9. They're 9 or 12. Old Bay. Now, they didn't do that good at regionals, I don't think, because they sent a skeleton crew. But this is a nasty roster out of the Bay Area. Ashlyn Joy, Christian Johnson, Eli Friedman, Eli Kearns, Joel Schlockett, Jordan Marcy, Lucas Dalton. This is like Revolver from 5 or 6 years ago. Simon Higgins is now Masters eligible. Tom Doy. This team's nasty, Keith.
Yeah, Marcelo.
Pat Bayless.
Yeah, this is a nice Alex Evangelides. This is a fun team. This should be a fun team to watch for sure. And they're not going to finish 9th, right? They're 12th. They're surely not.
No, they're at worst they lose in semis, but I think they could win. I just don't know how much those teams play together. I know Boneyard tends to have practices, so that's always something that you can keep an eye on. But I think the Seattle team, the Triangle team, and the Bay team, they look very formidable. Would compete at Club Nationals still and win games.
Yeah, now I'm looking at the other Bay roster because I'm who's on this other Bay roster? But less Revolver. I'll tell you that much.
All right, I have a mailbag question for you this week, Keith.
Wait, I before we move on from Masters, you're skipping the best part.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What's the best team? What's your favorite team name across these divisions? What's the one that? What's your favorite?
I don't know. My favorite new one is hip replacements.
I don't know if I've said Old Bay, not the one we looked at, but Old Bay with an E, Old BAE in the women's division. That's good. That's good. They're from the Bay. It's Old Bay. Come on. That's strong work. There's another one that I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. There's some classics, but I'm trying to find a new one. Who's Firm Handshake?
I don't know. That's not a good one though.
No, I needed a reference. If it has a good reference, I could have laughed at that. But yeah, okay, I'll stick with Old Bay. That's probably my favorite of the new class.
Sounds good. All right, I have a mailbag question for you this week, Keith.
Okay, what you got for me?
Disc Northwest did move forward with Sunbreak for this year, so that's great to hear. But they also announced that it would be the last year of Sunbreak, formerly Potlatch. And my question is this. Party tournaments have generally been in decline in North America, and COVID seems to have accelerated that trend. Is this a local Seattle story, or is there a bigger trend at hand here, Keith, with the drop-off in party tournaments and some stalwart events like Sunbreak just deciding to fold up shop?
You know what? You know what's at hand, Charlie, is a firm handshake, which is a high five reference from High Five. Okay, that comes from the chat. Thank you,
Ah,
chat. Thank you, Kyle Murray. No, I think this is a bigger trend. We've been discussing this for a couple of years. I feel like there was a lengthy discussion in our Discord about our party tournaments going extinct in at least in North America. I think there's still a scene in Europe where the party's a little more integrated with Ultimate, but I think often those European scenes feel like they're on the pathways that North American Ultimate has traveled and end up in the same place eventually. I think that we're seeing this element of Ultimate shrink to a size that may not make them easy to manage for these big destination tournaments anymore. Uh, I don't know. I'm definitely not the type of person who goes to these tournaments really. So, I'm not a good barometer, but like I still hear people talk about Wildwood, but like not with the same bated breath as in previous years. You know, I was a big fan of Poultry Days. I've been to Poultry Days many times, but I just don't know if those tournaments are going to be able to maintain the steam that they used to have. The why on that's a little more confusing. I think my number one problem will be just a more crowded Ultimate calendar. You know, the elite players that I think were part of the draw towards these tournaments just have so much Ultimate on their hands that it's hard for them to really get together for these anymore. And when you lose that trickles down into the wider community. So that's my theory, but I do think this is not a Seattle problem. I think we've been talking about this.
I agree. I think it was kind of a bait in my question to say, is it a Seattle story? I my thing is like, people still want to party, but maybe not as much. And I've seen a lot of people say that it's like, well, the season's too crowded. No one can possibly do, all the semi-pro and the club and all the requirements and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, like, back in the day when there was no TCT, teams still went to 2 to 3 regular season tournaments every year. Now, maybe they weren't as far away in some cases, but they still went to them. Like, the TCT was like a formalization of the existing club culture. So I don't know that that's totally the story. I think semi-pro probably has an impact, but I ultimately think it's that people are socializing differently now. We're also seeing rosters have gotten way bigger for these club teams. So there's just more, like, people are doing more like retreats, and they're doing, they're hanging out more together in the city that they live in. And I just feel like there's maybe less of a demand for going to a tournament to hang out, especially in the middle of the summer, because there are tournaments that are still succeeding. Like, Wildwood is not nearly as big as it used to be, and it's not really an elite player tournament, but it's still like hundreds of teams. The layout throwback in the winter still pulls elite teams and elite players because it's in the winter and people want to get out of cold weather and they want to go hang out at the beach. So I think it's like a little bit dependent on when your tournament is. But I also I almost wonder if like the general decline in drinking period has taken the shine off of some of these tournaments. And it's like the Gen Z don't drink as much as
Right.
Gen X and millennials.
They
And
don't wanna
even
just
Gen X
get
and
together
millennials
and
are
get
drinking less. People don't want to just get together and play, flip cup and get destroyed like they did in the mid 2000s.
I can't. I'm too old to really know, but that was a case being made by some of the Gen Zers in our Discord. So I'm
Well,
willing to buy into that.
the stats are there. I mean, Gen Z drinks less than other generations.
Yeah, I mean, there's room to reimagine what these types of events are. I don't know what that looks like exactly, but maybe there's a less of a, hey, let's get intense and drink too much, and then play Ultimate occasionally. Maybe there's a different world where, we get together and we play Ultimate, and when we're not playing Ultimate, there's a different thing happening that people want to be a part of. I don't know what that is necessarily, but maybe there is a world in which we reimagine the structure of these events, and there is still some great social element. Maybe it's panel conversations and breakout groups. I don't know what kids want, what people would want to do. Maybe it's club teams getting together and they're all having their retreat in the same place. And so you like do some stuff with your team, and you get together with people from other teams, and you do some cross team conversations. You learn ideas from each other. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Whatever.
I have no
whatever
interest in your vision of party tournaments. Let's have a panel discussion at the party tournament.
I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm just saying that like people may want something different than a party tournament that still fulfills the role of getting together and meeting other people from other teams and spending time together, but they may want to get something else out of it rather than just like, hey, let's drink a bunch.
I do think that there is something to the idea that because teams are traveling more, both because they maybe play semi-pro and they, definitionally are like flying to some games, and just the TCT, it doesn't let the West Coast teams just sequester themselves in, Seattle and San Francisco the whole season. They have to go, the top teams have to go to Denver, and other teams, they have to travel a little bit more than maybe they used to. That means that maybe there's less of an appetite for flying to some party tournament. But this is affecting even more local-ish tournaments like Poultry Days. Things are just not as big. I think COVID accelerated this, and I don't know. Like maybe we could just blame it all on smartphones. People just want to sit on their phone. I don't know.
Someone in the chat, what's the chicken dinner situation at Poultry Days? I
think they still got the chicken dinner. I still haven't made it to that one. I really want to go.
It's a wrap. It's over. Once the town stops accepting us, where there's no Miss Chick and no chicken dinners, then this Poultry Days is going to be done.
Shut it down. It's really interesting. I think there's still a demand for people to like go hang out with alumni teams, but I think it's just tending to happen more at like layout throwback, and like everything's concentrating into that wintertime tournament. Or maybe going to one of we've seen a couple of US teams take the trip to Europe to go to like Windmill and like go to what the hot party tournament of the moment is. And that combines competition and partying in a way that a lot of tournaments don't. So interesting.
What about Poultry Worlds? We invite international teams to come enjoy some Americana and make it more of a like international themed event. Everybody comes in, you eat chicken dinners, but in like deep in the Midwest, and then you hang out. I don't know. Poultry
Versailles. Well, they know how to. Would they know to call it Versailles?
They would not.
Only invite the French. All right. That is going to do it for today's show. Don't miss our sub bonus. We're talking the biggest club roster changes and looking at some of the transactions that have defined this offseason and are going to play into who makes a run to a championship this year at Club Nationals. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, noon Eastern, right here on Deep Look.